Well, we're back again and pushing on with the chart of Adam Harishon here that we're about to see, and this is Jewish Astrology, a Cosmic Science. This book is written by a great astrologer by the name of Yaakov Kronenberg. So let's see what it says down here at the bottom. Let's try to get to where I can read it. I'll bring this up a little bit. So it says like this, and you can buy this book on Amazon. You can buy it at Jewish bookstores online. Adam Harishon was an ideal person. Now, what does that mean? He had an ideal chart. So the first sign, or the first house in the of Adam Harishon is Aries. He was an Aries rising. Now, let's think about Aries for a minute. When does Aries take place? It takes place in the springtime. So I see that, in my opinion, that all the different relationships between the sun, the moon, the stars, so on and so forth, the planets, they all hold true. In other words, Aries is the spring. So if you see Aries in different places, then you understand that it represents this new budding of growth. That's Aries. Aries is a fire sign. So let's say that's Adam Harishon's sign. And Aries rising is a cardinal sign. And in the nature of a cardinal sign is to be a goal-oriented, to go after a goal in his lifetime. That's like the bud on the tree in the spring. He says, and the Aries sign is a fire sign, and it's a cardinal sign. So it's a fire sign, it's hot, and it's a cardinal sign, which means it's going after a goal. This fire sign is a lot of power and energy, one which with such a sign, so a person, he means, with this sign, desires to go up in the world, and is fearless. The Aries is a Martian sign. It's called the Martian sign. Now, you're getting all these different ideas that he emphasizes that Martian signs means they're aggressive. He's Martian sign, and is not afraid to go after what he wants. So again, we have to talk about the question of whether the chart of Adam also applies to women, or maybe women are more from a Libra rising sign, which is the sign of Eve. Or maybe they should be on a combination of both. So we are going to see that the first and seventh houses, which we've talked about before, the first person himself and his mate, which is 7 houses away, form an axis and are really the opposites of each other, and always exchange their energy. Now, I don't know if you could see my fingers like this, but I've seen, it's kind of hard. Maybe I'll get a drawing and I'll be able to show it, but a man and a woman are a little bit like the 5 fingers of your hand, but they don't, that is of each hand, but they don't really mesh. In other words, maybe I could hold them like this. I don't know, I'm not working out too well. So when you try, as they start to come together, because each one of them has qualities which the other one does not have, they produce a tremendous amount of energy. And that's what he's talking about. Being able to put these together into oneness is really the goal of marriage. That's really what happens. So he says, going back, the Aries is a Martian sign, and is not afraid to go after what he wants. So again, we want to talk about the question of whether the chart of Adam also applies to women, or maybe women are more from a Libra rising sign, or maybe they should be a combination of both. So we're going to see that the first and 7th houses form an axis. And they're really the opposites of each other. That's what it's trying to say about the fingers. The fingers don't really overlap. They kind of fit into each other, but they're opposites. And always exchange their energy. That's what I was trying to show also with that little drawing. Now, there is a drawing here. 1 second, let me put this on hold, and I'll get this book. Okay, so I found the book. This is a book. It's a really deep book called Sefer. It's written in English by the great Rabbi Aryeh Kaplan. So this is the Sefer, the Book of Creation in Theory and Practice. And he says like this. Look at this drawing of these 2 hands. Okay, so what you have here is a right hand and a left hand. And what he's saying, a little bit of the background, this is a little bit deeper Kabbalah, is that the 2 hands are opposites. One is a right, one is a left. This could be husband, this is wife. And you see that the two hands are actually very similar, but they're opposite. And as they come closer and closer together, they're sort of like sparks fly. There's a lot of energy in between them. This is the act of creation itself. Now, I have different kinds of drawings over here, which are real deep, and I'd really like to get into it. I'd like to learn it better. Maybe that'll come along sometime down the line. So just let me give you an idea of those energies. And let me hold for a second again and try to get back where I was. Now he says, this is where we're at. We are going to see that the first and seventh houses form an axis, and are really the opposite of each other, and always exchange their energy. The first house is always influenced by the seventh, and the seventh by the first. The man becomes his wife, and the wife becomes her husband. If you look at couples at their middle ages, you see that they start to look alike. This is because the interchange is going on all the time, and one becomes like the other. So it is a deep matter, which we have to spend some more time on, that this relationship between man and woman. So he says, Adam Harishon had an Aries rising, and this is the ideal nature of how a man should be. He should be martial, like a Martian. Goal-oriented, going after what he wants, fearless, full of fire and enthusiasm and drive. And suddenly a baby is born under the constellation of Pisces, which is a feminine sign, which is opposite of the assertive Aries masculine sign. So all of these he's giving us hints as to understanding the different signs. So he says a male in astrology doesn't mean specifically a man. It means the character of a male, which is going forward. The male archetype of being an initiator, one who starts things. Now, this is also true in Kabbalah, but not exactly the same words, but the right side, which is called the side of the man, the male side, is the giver side. And the female side is the receptacle side, the recepting side. So you have both of these going on. A female sign is more passive, more accepting, and more receptive. But when a Pisces boy is born, it means that he would be more accepting, receptive, and passive. So he would have the difficulty of having a feminine ascendant if he has a feminine ascendant. It is more comfortable for a man to have a masculine ascendant. So let's just say, for example, that my ascendant, I'm not sure what it is. So let's say the chart that we're looking at. This is a person who has a Leo ascendant. The Leo ascendant is a masculine sign. So he said the man would be more comfortable in that sign than if he was, say, for example, if he was born in Taurus. So the Taurus was his ascendant. Taurus is a female sign. So in the Jewish religion, he says, when a woman is pregnant, you bless her husband that he should have a masculine boy, a ben zachar. Now, how can that be? How could you say that blessing? After all, the boy is masculine. So I think what they mean is that the boy should be a boy born in a time which gives him a masculine ascendant. That's what it means. That way he will feel more comfortable in his gender type, because he's a man, then he matched up better at being a man himself, which is masculine in nature. And for example, if a male has Pisces or Taurus as an ascendant, which are the most feminine, then, say for example, that's what I was saying, then maybe he would not feel masculine enough. And the same thing applies with a woman who has an Aries rising, where I have seen that these women with Aries rising could feel that they are not feminine enough, because they feel they have a Martian, that they have a Martian sign inside of themselves, being an assertive and even aggressive type of personality. It may not be a feminine trait. So they feel it makes them more uncomfortable in their gender, because it makes them feel too masculine. So another way of how to understand the person in their life is to look into the wisdom of the zodiac, which is found inside the horoscope of Adam Harishon. That Adam Harishon sets the standard for all of the signs to come. So you look at the ascendant, which is found inside the horoscope of Adam Harishon. So you look at the ascendant and understand what your ideal archetype actually is. And then you look at the chart of a person and compare his chart with the chart of Adam and Eve, and you see how different it is. They're actually not the same at all. And from that, you can start to seeing the problem in the person. So let's say, if a male has a Pisces rising now, whereas ideally, he should have an Aries rising, that because Aries goes with masculinity, He feels more feminine, passive, and not outgoing enough. He is more a dreamer. He is too sympathetic, too caring. He doesn't go after his own will, and he is too afraid of offending people. Whoa. So just from comparing his chart to that of Adam and Eve, and what did he just say over there? He says that an Aries is not afraid to offend people, because he's goal oriented, so goal oriented that he's going to get the golden cup no matter what. So he says now, comparing the chart of Adam and Eve, you already start to see all the different problems and how you have to work in helping the person. Now he's saying that this is really one of the goals of an astrologer. This is how you try different problems and how you have to work in helping the person. This is how you try to understand the hidden laws of natures from the horoscope of Adam and Eve, and to understand how to help a person solve his problems from the horoscope of Adam and Eve, and not to have to go off into all other areas. You don't have to do mantras or precious stones or go to a shrink, but instead go forward using the teachings of the wisdom of Jewish astrology through the understanding of the horoscope of Adam and Eve. This is Baruch Fleischman. It's been another shir here in this tremendous book by Yaakov Kronenberg for those of us who are very, very interested in astrology and helping people.